Welcome everyone to Talk Wrestling. Once again, we're in the holiday spirit, complete with Mickey Ears Santa. Love that. Thank you all for watching this week, as you do each and every episode. I appreciate it. Today is a topic that we were going to get to a few days ago, but just the weather was against us, so we decided to pull it over here. And that is the top 5 wrestling managers of all time. And keep in mind, for those of you out there that are going to criticize what I'm about to say, this show is my opinion. If you guys have an opinion, throw it out there by all means. Please, let me know what you guys think. I always encourage that. Even the trolls, that way I can see exactly who I have to deal with, who I don't have to deal with. So, let me know what you think. 4 and 5 are kind of in the same area of time, and I'll throw them in there together. You can put either one at 4 or at 5. Classy Freddie Blassie and Captain Lou Albano, the 2 Hall of Famers. Both those guys were managers in the time where the wrestling manager was, very well showcased. Not as much as they were later, because the managers actually stayed at ringside later. When Lou and Freddie were managing, they would escort the guys to the ring and pretty much just bail, which I think was kind of stupid. Just my personal opinion. But Lou Albano, to my knowledge, managed like 17 or 18 or almost 20 guys to the teams to the World Tag Team titles. He managed Ivan Koloff to the championship, to the WWE Championship against Bruno Sammartino, no less. He managed the Wild Samoans, which were one of the more prolific tag teams and part of the Samoan dynasty in wrestling. Lou was part of the Rock and Wrestling Connection with Cyndi Lauper. He ended up turning face during that time and feuded with Piper and things like that. So he was very influential. There can't be enough said about Freddie Blassie and his influence, on the business as a wrestler, as a manager, as a guiding spirit, if you will. Freddie was always the true motivator that I observed. Freddie, I always remember the Invasion storyline in 2001 where Freddie made an appearance in the locker room before Invasion and stood up out of his wheelchair and motivated the WWF superstars to fight against the rebellious WCW and ECW coalition. And that was just awesome. And his last appearance, of course, was with the Dudleys when he told Devon to get the tables. I thought that was cute to include him one last time. Freddie was a legend. Freddie's status is a legend, and he can never be overlooked. So those guys are on my list for sure. Number 3, I was going back and forth and debating, who I'd put on here. I was thinking about including the female, including the male. I didn't know who I wanted to put in there. At the end of the day, I came up with somebody who not only influenced wrestling valets, not only influenced wrestling managers, but influenced the divas as a whole. And that's Tammy Sytch, Sunny. Sunny came in at a time where, women's wrestling was not prolific, where women themselves in wrestling weren't seen as, the hottest thing since sliced bread. You had Alundra Blaze, who was fairly attractive. You had Bull Nakano, who was fairly not. And you had Bertha Faye, who was, let's just leave Bertha Faye alone, let her rest in peace. And then you had Sunny come along in a little cheerleading outfit, a fitness outfit with, showing skin, and she was just the hottest thing ever, and she managed 3 straight teams to the Tag Team Championship. She debuted for Rook. She, influenced ECW. She influenced WCW. She was the original WWF diva. Before Sunny came along, there was no such thing as a WWF diva, and I think her, combined with Sable's influence a couple years later, shaped the future for the divas, and I think her contributions cannot be overlooked by any means. And the fact that she's still going today is still awesome. We saw her at the Raw anniversary a few years ago. She's still out there in the indie circuit, still making appearances at conventions, and Sunny's awesome, and I always treasure my meeting her back in 2003 when I met her and Chris at XPW. I thought that was an awesome time for me, and she was very sweet and very, just very cool, and she still is cool. Number 2, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, former Extreme Mayhem guest, very nice to me, just very cool with me over the last, what's it been now, 7 years. Helped me get to meet Hulk, which is a plus. But beyond the personal, Jimmy was a great manager in the South, in Memphis. He, led Andy Kaufman to greatness when he was there. I mean, Andy Kaufman, greatness, yeah, but, when Andy Kaufman was there, Jimmy was right there by his side. He got called up to WWF. He managed King Kong Bundy. He managed the Honky Tonk Man. He managed Bret Hart. He managed Jim Neidhart, Dino Bravo, Earthquake, Typhoon, The Nasty Boys, Money Incorporated, Hogan and Beefcake, the Dungeon of Doom in WCW, the Faces of Fear in WCW, the First Family in WCW. You guys remember that? And he also ran WCW Saturday Night for the longest time. He had an influence behind the scenes as well that many people didn't have. Jimmy Hart, and you can't forget the megaphone, baby. The megaphone is what made it, and I think that Jimmy Hart is a tremendous name in this business, and the fact that he still appears in a commercial with Hulk on TV that I saw the other day shows how much of a popular character he is and how much he is beloved by the wrestling community. Only person above him that is more beloved by the wrestling community at large than Jimmy Hart has got to be my number one, and that's the brain, the weasel, Bobby Heenan, who I, happened to read on NoDQ.com various conflicting reports about his health, and then luckily I heard from his wife, and he's doing fine. He's just recovering from his hip problems, so God bless you, Bobby. You are the best of all time. One of the greatest commentators of all time, him and Gorilla, calling the 92 Rumble sticks out of my mind. Matter of fact, that's going to be on the Bobby Heenan DVD, that entire match that, I guess Bobby finally got to watch it because I think he had a say in what went on that DVD. And he had told me when he interviewed him back in 2003, 2004, he hadn't even seen that match before. So I guess he finally got to see it, so that's awesome. I was going to send him a DVD of it and I never got to, so I'm glad he did. The Heenan family, in AWA and in the WWF, and, his contributions to WCW as a commentator, yeah, he wasn't allowed to do a lot of things he was doing in WWF because WCW was a bunch of nightmarish bullshit, but Bobby's legacy will never be tarnished, in my opinion. Bobby is one of the all-time greats. The fact that the greatest of all time, Ric Flair, specifically requested to have Bobby as his advisor when he came to WWF in 1991 speaks volumes. So I think that, Bobby is the best of all time. I'm not even going to ask the bear this time because the bear it doesn't even matter. I don't care. Little troll bastard. What do you guys think out there in internet land? Who's the best manager of all time? Is it one of the guys I mentioned? Is it somebody I forgot today? What do you guys think? Let me know. We'll see you next time.